Okay. Says I'm live. There's the count. Okay, finally. Yeah, the computer's been acting up again, so better keep an eye on things. But hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows, episode 616, Meme Worthy. It's 11:11 p.m. on July 19th, 2025. It is the anniversary of the moon landing. The moon landing did not happen until July 20th, which is tomorrow. It's also my stepmother's birthday tomorrow and my brother-in-law's birthday on Monday. My daughter, we finally got in touch with her. We finally got her to sign up for orientation at her college. We were worried that she might not be deciding to go to her college, but she is. So we have an orientation plan for about a week before school starts. So, okay, that'll work, I suppose. You're not going to get your classes you want, but that's okay. That's fine with me. We just got you doing it, though. That's good. This week is a little bit more packed than I thought it would be. It's 6 pages, which is my normal is about 4. But there are some big stories in here. The main reason why it's called Meme Worthy is the big meme that's going around now today. It happened, I think, yesterday or the day before, where a CEO of a company was caught on a kiss cam with his head of HR, both of whom are married to other people at a Coldplay concert. And their reaction was, when they realized that they were on screen and they were busted, was absolutely meme worthy. So it has been extremely meme worthy to death. The CEO has quit his job, so because of the stuff like that. But that's the big story, and that's what the meme worthy stuff is. So figured I'd jump on the bandwagon while I still had a chance. So that's what that was all about. Zack Snyder bro fans are crying tears because James Gunn's Superman is actually a certified hit. Also very well loved. It's getting its own memes as well, with the great teddy bears with Iggy Pop song, Punk Rocker, Yes I Am, which is the final song in Superman. It's outstanding. So if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Superman is number 1 again this week. Only dropped 54%, which is actually really, really good for a lot of these like high stakes big things where most everybody sees it in the first week, and to only drop almost half of your money is still actually really decent, because everybody who wanted to see it saw it week 1. And so normally the drop would be in the 60 to 70 percentile, but this is only 54. So a decent drop. It should hit over $400 million worldwide by the end of the weekend. So that's a good job as well. So congratulations on that. It will, however, not remain number 1, because Fantastic Four reveals itself on Friday. And that should take over the number 1 spot this week. But to have Fantastic Four and Superman back to back, number 1 and number 2, is really, really good. I plan on taking Friday off to go see the Fantastic Four. So I should have my review for that for next week's episode. Also, this week upcoming is San Diego Comic-Con. So any news of import that will come out of that will be broadcast on my show next week as well. So next week is pretty much planned out as it is right now. And then that'll be the last week of July for this show for this year, as we enter into August. So time marches on. So got some good stuff. In Dreams returns. Another dream of a sexy celebrity, and she's going to be all over today's episode as well, not just because of my dream with her. We finally got our first look at the Stranger Things Season 5 trailer. To take a look at it, it looks absolutely stunningly scary, and what you expected from action-packed, very tense, very interesting looks at everything. So pretty good looking at that. So if you haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check that out as well. We also got our first poster for Supergirl, which is the next DCU movie coming out next year, next June, I believe. And I'm actually, after seeing Superman last week, it has moved to the top of my summer of 2026 movies I want to watch next year, because Avengers Doomsday has been moved to December of 2026. So as of now, I can't think of any other really major summer movies that I want to see. Obviously, that could change, but Supergirl has definitely jumped to the top of the list with that one. So that'll be really good. So we got our first poster for that. Was released basically on like Monday after the big week that it had. Plus, the WB is besides themselves. They're extraordinarily happy with the results of it, and said that they're in for the long haul for at least a 10-year window to see what happens after that, which is what Gunn said he was going to do when he came in. So we'll see about that. So that's good. The movie that came out this week that was supposed to maybe give it some track competition, but end up flopping for the most part. I think I haven't seen the final numbers yet, but I don't think it's done as well as expected, was the reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer. That in and of itself had its own controversy. At the premiere, Jennifer Love Hewitt, who is one of the most hugely attractive women actresses out there right now, was a major sex symbol in the late 90s, early 2000s. She's now a mom of 3 in her 40s. And as the jargon is, she's looking a little thick, but she looks really, really good, and has always looked good. And there's nothing wrong with a little meat on the bones, obviously. But there are, of course, assholes out there who, when they saw the pictures of her looking the way she was, they only had visions of her when she was in her 20s, being the sexy, big bosomed one, and not the not middle-aged, like 40-year-old woman who's lived her life and stuff like that, and is enjoying life as well. And the fact is, and they were downright being disrespectful to her, and it made my heart feel good to see so many people come out and call these assholes out, saying, why don't you just shut the fuck up? You don't know what you're talking about. She's gorgeous. And I was chimed in on that as well. She's still gorgeous. What a lot of these people don't realize is that it's age. It's what happens. Obviously you can work out and do all that stuff and keep up to it. But sometimes, once you start getting into your late 30s and early 40s, your metabolism starts slowing down anyway. Like right around the age of 42 is when I started sprouting outward. I was fairly skinny for a while there. And just somewhere, once kids came around and I got into my 40s, it's scientific fact is that somewhere in your 40s, like around 42 or so, your body's metabolism starts slowing down and things start changing in your body, and you start feeling, it's not an exaggeration. It's not a cliche. I'm 52 years old and I have pain all the time. Now, my back pain I talked to you about last week has not been as bad as it was last week, but I've been fluctuating between, I've had pain there. I've had pain on my other side. I've had chafing in my crotch area due to the heat, which has caused a little bit of pain there as well. I had a massive headache earlier this week. My feet still kind of hurt a little bit. So it's just something that, you go through, and your metabolism and everything slows down. And even those people who work out, if you keep an eye on them, they're starting to show their age also. Tom Cruise looking at a little bit more like his age on this tour for Missions Impossible. And Freddie Prinze Jr. was looking pretty good on the red carpet too, and they've been showing videos of him working with his wife Sarah Michelle Gellar working out. But even though he still looks fairly thin, he's not as thin as he was, and you can see the age in him as well. He's got the graying in the beard and stuff like that, so he looks older. Sarah the same way. She keeps up with her training as well. Exercising as well, but she's also, she's showing signs of getting older also. It's just the way it is. It's, I'm glad that none of these actors are deciding that they should need to get some sort of liposuction or facial reconstruction or whatever. Just let yourself age a little bit. Hell, Paul Rudd still looks like Paul Rudd, but he is, he's got to, stay in shape for what he's doing and stuff like that. So there are things to do. Jennifer Love Hewitt is acting in the show 911, so she really doesn't need to be, like fit. She's not in a superhero cartoon or a superhero movie or whatever. She's just playing a regular person. And she looks great. She looks fine. So just stop with all this body shaming and bullshit. So with the arrival of Fantastic Four coming on Friday, the press corps has been, interviewing them, stuff like that. Word has come out that Reed Richards will be leading the Avengers in the Doomsday movie. So no more Yelena or Sam. That'll be Reed Richards leading them instead. So, okay. I guess maybe Thunderbolts and the Avengers are going to join together to create like the new Avengers, and to make sure that neither one of them, is chosen over the other to be leader. Reed steps in to maybe be the leader. So maybe that's something they can do about that too. Oh yeah, I got my new haircut. So there we go. So we got that coming up. We had a mock trailer for Mortal Kombat 2 focusing on Johnny Cage, played by Carl Urban, who looks like is going to be the main star of Mortal Kombat 2. It was basically a trailer because remember, if you know the character of Johnny Cage, he is a actor who acts in action films, stuff like that, and knows his martial arts, stuff like that. So this was a trailer for one of his movies. So then a few days later, they actually released the actual Mortal Kombat 2 trailer. And honestly, it looks fucking awesome, too. I'm not the biggest Mortal Kombat fan, but that looks fucking sweet. And you get to see a lot more of what the story is going to bring. You see all your favorite Mortal Kombat characters. And, of course, Johnny Cage is front and center and doing stuff. And it looks phenomenal. So that's going to be rolling in here, I think, in October. I have that story later on down the line. I'll talk to you about that, too. Judd Winnick, who has written and drawn a kid's graphic novel called Hilo, which my kids have been reading when they were younger, and it comes one new one comes out every year. They're up to like volume 7 or 8 right now. They're really, really good. Maybe 9 or 10. They might be closer to that. They're really, really good. And my kids have lost interest in it, but I still try to read it because I like Judd Winnick's stuff. And it's good. And this is a good storyline. Because Hilo is so popular, he has decided to do a spin-off of Hilo, the first one of many probably, because he's going to be ending Hilo soon. I think I heard it's going to go only a certain amount of chapters, and then he's going to end it. So he needs to keep working on the stuff from the world and stuff like that. So he's created his first spin-off called The Mighty, which I think is due out next year. But he announced that this week as well. Werewolf, the new Rob Eggers movie. I thought he was going to do Christmas Carol first, but I guess he's going to do Werewolf first, and then he'll do Christmas Carol. Is one of those directors that he likes to have same people working with him. He has cast Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp, who both starred together in Nosferatu, now doing Werewolf, which is a 13th century werewolf movie, which will have actual 13th century dialogue and not modern dialogue updating the dialogue. They will speak in the 1300s vernacular. And of course, Rob Eggers' Lucky Penny, Willem Dafoe, is also going to be joining the cast of Werewolf. So that's going to be coming up here soon too. For those who've seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure way back almost 40 years ago, the 40th anniversary should be coming up really soon if it hasn't already passed. I can't remember if it has or not. For those who have seen it, excuse me, one of the biggest jokes in the movie is when he's trying to find his bike, a fake psychic tells him to go to the basement of the Alamo. And so that's what sets the movie off. It becomes a road film because he's trying to find who stole his bike. And he goes to the Alamo, takes the tour, which is led by Jan Hooks of SNL fame. And at the end, he asks the questions, can we see the basement? And then realizes that there is no basement at the Alamo and becomes embarrassed and then decides it's time to go back because he's learned a lot on the road. But then he gets, he sees where it actually ends up in California, ends up going out there to get it. Regardless, what that all has to do with anything is that this week, the Alamo itself has become the permanent home for the Pee-wee's Big Adventure bicycle. I guess either the Warner Brothers gave it to them or they paid for it to have it, but it'll be shown at the Alamo from now on. I think that's actually really, really funny. And I think Paul Rubens would have absolutely loved that. And I wish he would have been around to see that. It's a shame that he wasn't and he isn't. Colin Vinson has been cast as young Jason Voorhees in the Crystal Lake prequel series. So we have a new Jason Voorhees. I was thinking about this also. He's a young kid because the show is a prequel. It's going to be focusing more on his mom, who is just as psychotic as he is. And played by the wonderful Linda Cardellini. What I had a thought was, after the show, hopefully it would be a good long run, maybe 8 or 9 seasons for this show, like similar to the one about the Psycho prequel, which led to the beginning of Psycho. They can do something like that with Crystal Lake. They can lead up to the first Friday the 13th movie. What I think would be cool is that whenever they decide to reboot Friday the 13th again, 10, 11 years down the line, they should get this kid, Colin Vinson, to play him. I just think that would be an awesome little connection to Crystal Lake and not just pick up some stuntman or whatever. Yes, you probably do need stuntman to do it, but I'm sure you could try to train Colin Vinson on how to do this. I mean, he's like 8 years old now, give or take 10 more years. He'll be 18 years old. That would be like the appropriate time to have a younger Jason Voorhees. I think that'd be kind of an interesting take on the Friday the 13th thing, where a younger Jason Voorhees is going around killing people who may be his same age or a little older than him. But it'd be cool to have that connection, that whenever they do make a reboot of the movies, that he is the one that plays Jason Voorhees, has a connection to this Crystal Lake show. Lily Reinhart and Tom Bateman have been cast in the Love Hypothesis based on the bestseller. Now, this is kind of an interesting story, and I did not realize this. The Love Hypothesis is supposedly a Star Wars fanfic that the writer changed up to make it more of a romantic comedy, which was going to be Kylo Ren and Rey and their fan fiction relationship sort of thing. And that's what this was written about. But they, a la, 50 Shades of Grey, they changed it from being fan fiction to its own story. But the ironic thing is Tom Bateman, who has been cast as the male lead, is actually the husband of the actress who played Rey in the Star Wars movies. So I think that's kind of a funny little thing there. Alpha Gang is a sci-fi comedy that has cast Chris Pine, Lily Rose Depp, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Duna Bay. So we'll learn more about that as the time comes. A 7.3 earthquake hit Alaska earlier this week, and it set off a tsunami warning. I don't think one actually hit, but the water did recede and then eventually did come back, but there was a potential for a tsunami, but did not happen. That followed a 7.8 earthquake by Greenland. So it's been getting really kind of busy. Plus, there was a volcanic eruption in Iceland, the 9th time since 2023 that volcano has erupted. So something's going on right now in the world. That's crazy. There was a wildfire near Area 51 that might still be going on as far as I know. I don't know. But they, of course, made the jokes that it's probably like the aliens trying to escape, or the death ray was tested or something like that. And that caused the fire to happen because it was near Area 51. So that's kind of interesting. Earlier in the week when I started writing up my notes, and then I finished them up today, and things have changed since I started writing these notes. Some local news, heat dome was set to come back. It's been a disgustingly humid last few weeks, and it's also been insanely rainy and flooding, not necessarily in our area. We haven't quite gotten everything, but a lot of the areas around us have gotten hit with lots of flooding and severe thunderstorms and lightning and stuff like that. There was a heat dome scheduled to roll through here next week after a little bit of a break. The humidity's going down the next few days. Temperature's going to go down slightly, so it should be comfortable the next few days. But then the original story was that the heat dome would hit around Wednesday, Thursday, and would sit on us for about 3 or 4 days, bring more 90-degree temperatures, 100-degree heat indexes, stuff like that. The new update now has that now pushed to just a smaller heat dome that's just going to go over like a 2-day period. Like next Friday, next Saturday are going to be kind of brutally hot with this mini heat dome, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as the heat dome that sat on us a couple weeks ago. So that's a relief on that end. I'm looking forward to fall, and I do have some fall stories I'm going to talk to you about a little bit later in the show. But one thing I can jump ahead of is Christmas. Christmas Squishmallows are now up on the website where you get your Squishmallows. I forgot the name of the company name, but they have 2 Christmas Squishmallows that you can order now to get in time for Christmas. I'm guessing hopefully before then also. But yeah, but yes, Christmas, we are starting to get a lot more looks about fall. The grocery stores are going to start rolling over the end caps that are going to have Halloween sort of stuff. We'll talk about some of that stuff coming up here in a little bit. Speaking of kind of scary Halloween stuff, 1,500 tarantulas were found stuffed into cake boxes at a German airport, which is very odd to me, and I think probably to you too. Before we get to some of these other bigger stories right now, there is one thing I wanted to hit. I normally do the deaths for the week after this, but this is a special deal. Dan Rivera, who was a paranormal psychiatrist investigator who has been traveling the country with the haunted Annabelle doll. So we know what happened. They went to, I think they went to New Orleans, and a couple of people escaped from jail, and there was something else that happened down there. Then they went to someplace else, I forget, Washington or something like that, and something major happened there too. So everywhere the Annabelle doll has gone, something bad has happened. So the tail end of this trip is coming up, and unfortunately, Dan Rivera, the paranormal investigator who's been traveling with Annabelle, passed away at the age of 54. And a lot of people now are saying, "Oh my God, look, it's the Annabelle curse is finally hit," and stuff like that. So I don't know what to agree with that. Other paranormal investigators come out and said, no, it's not paranormal. It was just, it's a what's the word I'm thinking of? It's a coincidence that happened. So do with that what you will. Speaking of which, the Conjuring anniversary 12 years ago this week. So I have 3 big-ish kind of stories I wanted to cover here first. That's why I hit these other things first. This is going to take a little bit of time, so we're at 23 minutes. This might take about 20 minutes to get through, but I'll try to go through it. I might not go through all the Emmy ones because that's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, so I'll make it a little bit. The Emmy Awards were announced this week. Emmy nominations were announced this week, and there's a ton of them. And Severance is your big winner, and as is the Seth Rogen one where he works in the movie theater, or not in the movie company. They were the biggest nominees out there. There's just so many of them, and I just don't have time to read all of the nominees. But you're typical. The Bear got a bunch of stuff, and there were some Star Wars ones, though not more for acting, which people were mad about. There was some Marvel, but not many. That was more the What If stuff was in there as well. Agatha got a couple, but nothing that we were expecting because it was such a good show and it really didn't get the love it deserves. So lots of Emmy snubs and stuff like that. It's, television streaming is all kind of ridiculous anyway, but Harrison Ford did get his first Emmy nomination ever, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I'm not going to go into it. As I said, it's just a ton of things. So you can look it up on your own. But yeah, the Emmys did come out this week. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of skip over that because I do have a lot more to cover. I'm already 25 minutes in. Stephen Colbert, talk show host of the Late Show, one of the longest running late night talk shows, and is the most popular late night talk show on TV right now, 2.47 rating, which is really good. It's a whole point more than Jimmy Kimmel is. About 3 days ago, after Paramount said that they were going to join with Skybound in a merger, and on top of that, the con artist trader in office in charge of the presidency was suing them for some bullshit thing. I'm not sure. Paramount acquiesced to this con artist and paid him $16 million settlement on this frivolous lawsuit, which they would have won if they would have actually tried to fight it. But they were afraid that if they didn't do anything, that he would shut down this merger because it's going to give them a shit ton of money. It's all comes down to money and stuff like that. Stephen Colbert, though, doesn't care. He railed against them on his show. The guys at South Park are doing the same thing also. They're railing against it as well. But Colbert railed about it on his show. He's also been very anti-con artist, trader, president as well on his show, as he should be. So proof we live in a fascist state. 3 days, just a day or so ago, Paramount and CBS or ABC, CBS, told Stephen Colbert, your show is ending May 2026 due to financial reasons, which is a bunch of bullshit. We know that. We know that the trader in charge ordered them to cancel him because he's been celebrating the cancellation of Stephen Colbert and said he's going to come after Jimmy Kimmel next because apparently, that's why he keeps being in power, because nobody does anything to stop him. So he thinks he can get away with anything. So this is basically the government telling us this is what you're going to watch. You're only allowed to watch this stuff. You're not allowed to watch anything else. And if you talk bad about their leader, we're going to remove you from the airwaves. That's fascism, ladies and gentlemen. Did the same thing also. A bill passed this week that defunds PBS and NPR, which were free services, and showed a both sides sort of thing. So again, it's the government telling us what we can and cannot watch. That's fascism, people. Wake the fuck up and do something about it. But Colbert is not going to go down lightly. And don't feel bad for Stephen Colbert. There's going to be boycotts of CBS and Paramount Plus. The Writers Guild of the United States, which is the labor people, the labor I hate when my mind doesn't work right. Union. It's a labor union. That's what it is. Is going to investigate that this was a political move. If it is, they're going to sue the bejesus out of the United States government and Paramount as well. Colbert has until May 2026, so he can absolutely go scorched earth if he wants to and just talk absolute shit about whatever and whoever he wants until they physically remove him before then. It's his carte blanche to say whatever and do whatever he wants with that. And much like with Conan O'Brien, Conan has a hugely successful podcast. Stephen Colbert will more than likely be able to start his own podcast, and it'll be just as popular as Conan O'Brien's and be more popular than whatever late night drivel that they decide to put on the air, and absolutely outdo what they were doing on CBS. So we'll see what happens, but still, it's something to start keeping an eye on. And it's disgusting. Something that isn't disgusting to me, but might be for you guys, is another edition of In Dreams, which is my story where every once in a while I discuss a dream that I had. Lately, a lot of my In Dreams that I've been doing have been connected around highly attractive actresses, and I don't know why that's the case, but it is. In this case, the lovely Sydney Sweeney starred in my dream. And again, it's not a disgusting sex dream. I woke up before the sex part, but that's besides the point. In this case, it was just kind of weird. I call it Big Sky with Sydney Sweeney. It starts with us in a car with a family. Maybe Jason Bateman's the dad or something, but it's just, I don't recognize. But we're in this car and we're driving, and something happens to the car, and we end up having to go to a car rental place. And while we're there, one of the people who works at the car rental place is a gambler, and he's got his cell phone out and he's playing some sort of golf game, and he makes wagers about how well he's going to do. So while I guess they're talking about getting their car or waiting to get their car or whatever, my family or whatever, they give him money to bet on this golf that he's playing on his phone. And Sydney wants to do the same, but she doesn't have enough money. So I pull out my wallet and I give her the money to cover her thing. And I make sure that my wallet has the money still in it. It's not been stolen by anybody. And then I think I go outside and walk up this little path that has stones leading to this bench at the top where Sydney is sitting, again, outside of the car dealership waiting for whatever. And I guess we start talking a little bit. I don't remember that part, but she then stretches her foot out and asks for a foot massage. To me, these are all me giving her money is signs that I like her, and her wanting me to give her a foot massage, I think, was signs that she likes me as well. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. So I'm giving her a foot massage. And then our parents or the people who are driving or whatever, they start walking up the hill towards us. And I literally felt it in my body physically, that it was transferred from my dream to my body, where Sydney put her other foot out and pushed against my body, telling me to stop giving her a foot massage. I felt her foot hit me in my stomach. It was the weirdest thing in the world, in the real world, and then in the dream. And then it gets also really crazy. Then all of a sudden, it does this really weird stretching out of stuff, of the steps and stuff like that. And then there's this abandoned building. I don't know if it's closed or whatever. There's no cars in the parking lot right there. I don't know what that's about. And then we go to the car dealership, and then a fight or something breaks out. I'm not exactly sure what happens, because then, as in dreams, things just jump, and then it jumps to me sitting out on the deck, I guess, of this log cabin or something that's in the middle of this Montana sky at night. So it's dark. There's a mountain here, and there's a river or lake or something, and I'm sitting here just looking at it at night in the dark. There's lots of stars, but the moon is really bright up there. And I think I don't have a shirt on. I'm wearing my athletic short shirts, which is what I wear to bed. And Sydney comes out, and she's got a robe on. I think I spy a nightgown or something underneath it. And we sit and just watch this moon in the dark night in the Montana sky with the reflecting off of the river. And I think it was going to lead to sex. And then I woke up. So that's my Sydney Sweeney dream. It was a caramel colored car also. I remember that also, that we did end up getting as well. So weird stuff. Sydney's going to make a couple more appearances in today's episode as well. So that's that. So now we're going to switch gears. to Halloween and the fall. It's the Great Pumpkin themed Reese's pumpkins are coming out for Halloween. So basically, the Reese's pumpkins, which are the best Reese's candies out there, will be Great Pumpkin themed this year. So the wrappers will all be like Great Pumpkin pictures from the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. They'll be in all kinds of sizes like that. So that's kind of interesting. Kit Kat is releasing Counts Halloween Kit Kat bars, which are Kit Kat bars that look like Dracula, which is really cool. Wearing the tunic and stuff like that. Looks like the Adam Sandler Dracula from Hotel Transylvania kind of thing. But I want to try those. Actually, those are really cool, really cool. So Kit Kat Counts is coming out also. Apple cider donut coffee is the new coffee from Dunkin' that you'll be able to brew in your own home as well. I'm not sure. Fruit flavored coffees or coffee creamers tend not to be spectacular for me, but we'll have to wait and see because apple cider is hugely a huge fall thing, and apple cider donuts are interesting. They don't quite taste like apples, so it might just be the flavor of the actual apple cider donut, which is going to be in the coffee. So that could be pretty good too. So looking forward to trying that. This is kind of cool. I think I kind of want some. Nike Air Force One shoes are going to be, there's a new version of them are going to be released that are covered in autumn leaves. Don't know if they're real leaves, probably not because they would die very quickly. They're probably, but they are, the shoes are covered in autumn leaves, the oranges, yellows, and browns you see. And I think that looks really cool. I doubt it's on Amazon. I just want to. Yeah, no, it takes you to just the Air Force One page, but there is going to be Air Force Ones that are going to be covered in leaves. Leaves. Nope, just the Air Force Ones. Okay, that's all right, but there are some, and I think they're really cool, and we'll maybe see them closer to the time. I think those are really neat too. This is not like fall related, but Kentucky Fried Chicken is teaming with a gummy company to do gummy flavored Kentucky Fried Chicken meals. It'll have chicken and French fries and the sauces and stuff like that, but they're not going to taste like chicken and stuff like that. They actually have fruit flavors to them, but they just happen to look like a Kentucky Fried Chicken meal. They have a macaroni and cheese that tastes like mango, I think, and the chicken is like a peach sort of flavored gummy. So, ooh, blood. Vampire. Some bleeding down there. Guess I'll drink some blood orange also to go with my blood. Yeah, it'll harden up here. So we got that going from Supernatural, the hugely popular, I guess, CW show, will actually be returning in comic book form from Dynamite Comics. So that's a pretty decent comic. We'll probably make a lot of money there for that as well. It's also time. Oh, yeah, Halloween Fruity Pebbles are going to be making a return. Also, we'll be seeing them really soon too. So don't be surprised about that. We also got our first behind-the-scenes look at Practical Magic 2 with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. They look like they did when they made the first Practical Magic, so that's pretty decent. And it's they started filming it, obviously, so it's good to see some behind-the-scenes stuff. And I'm actually kind of excited to see that movie as well. I think that'd be really interesting because I really like Practical Magic, the original one. Where is that? Oh, I'll find it eventually. Taylor Russell has exited the Thomas Crown affair after only a few weeks of filming due to creative differences. I think she was playing the love interest of Michael B. Jordan's character, and I guess the chemistry wasn't there, and she left. Pepper. She left the movie, so he's got to find a new leading lady, I think. So, my boy, big boy. There it is. First behind the scenes look. Pepper, really? I'm trying to do my show here. You need to move. Pepper. See, it's so dark because he's blocking the light right now. Pepper, you need to move. You can sit on me if you want, but you can't sit on my paperwork. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's my big boy. See, there you are. That's my big boy. It's my lap if you want. All right. So this is kind of good. They have the casting for the live-action Legend of Zelda movie. And they are two unknowns, which is really, really good. Well, they've been in stuff, but they're not household names. Benjamin Evan Ainsworth will be playing Link, and Bo Bragason will be playing Zelda in the live-action one. Jack Loudon has been cast in Apple's limited series Berlin Nights, based on the novel. 18 women for 4 years crocheted and knitted a map of Ireland, including towns and topographical stuff as well. So that's really cool. Vin Diesel will be joining Michael Caine in the movie Family. I thought Michael Caine had retired, but I guess not. The Platonic Season 2 trailer with Rose Byrne and Seth Rogen debuted this week as well. Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, unfortunately, has been pushed back by about 3 weeks. It will now debut on June 25th, 2027, instead of early June 2027. No, Pepper. Oh. Why don't you sit up here? Oh. There you go. Captain Planet live action Netflix series is in the works right now also, from Greg Berlanti, who did the CW superhero TV shows. Here, you want to sit behind me? The Harry Potter TV show has started filming, and they will be filming seasons 1 and 2 back to back, which now makes sense to me now why they announced the casting of actors who were not in the first book, but in the second one instead, Lucius and so on and so forth. And that's the reason why they're going to be filming them back to back, which is good. Hello, Pepper. And something we do not need, a Basic Instinct reboot from Joe Esterhaus is on its way. Joe Esterhaus is a terrible writer, and there is no need for a Basic Instinct reboot, but whatever. So Stranger Things has said that the trailer came out for it, and there's lots of collaborations. Last week I talked to you about the pizzas that they're going to be doing. Well, Doritos is bringing back a special Stranger Things collaboration. They're bringing back the Doritos Collisions, which was something that came out a few years, it must have been more than like maybe 10 some years ago, where they mixed two flavors of Doritos together into a chip, or they had them both in there, and when you grabbed a handful of them, you didn't know what you were going to get. I forget what it was, but they're bringing that back for Stranger Things. They have a pizza and Cool Ranch flavor is the one coming up here soon too. A Risk G.I. Joe version is in the works. Ow. Pepper, ow. It's one of those crowdfunding sort of things. They're trying to get people to pay for the creation of it, but they do not have the official okay for it yet. Cooper Cook will be joining Artificial with Andrew Garfield. So that's pretty good about that. Speaking of Andrew Garfield, the same director who's directing Artificial directed a movie called After the Hunt, which stars also Andrew Garfield, Julia Roberts, and Ayo Edebin. The first trailer for that came out this week and is due out in October. Ooh. Pepper, you're being a pain. Other Mommy cast an 8-year-old lead. It's like a horror thriller sort of film. Nobody 2's new trailer debuted this week as well. Some local news: a massive water main break and sinkhole collapsed the main road in Hunt Valley where my wife works, so she got to leave work early on Friday due to it. It's supposed to take 2 days to repair, and it was a massive sinkhole, and the water was bubbling and filled the entire hole. It was a massive, deep issue. So that's interesting. Hopefully it will get fixed. A woman has been arrested in Thailand for having sex with Buddhist monks, filming them, and then blackmailing them with it. Ow. And you can't, you can blame the woman, sure, but you also have to give a little bit of blame to the, ow, excuse me. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Get down. Get down. You do not smack me in the head. That's not very nice. You can stay, but don't smack me in the head. Talking to America here, people. Peppers. So, but still, that's kind of a jerky thing to do anyway. But there you go. Anniversaries. Mamma Mia debuted 17 years ago this week. Jurassic Park 3 debuted 24 years ago this week. The Dark Knight debuted 17 years ago this week. And funny story about this, Aliens debuted 39 years ago this week on July 18th, which was Friday. On Thursday, I was eating my dinner. I decided I wanted to watch a Movies That Made Us, one of the great Netflix behind the scenes shows that they haven't made a new episode in almost 2 years, which is pissing me off because that's a great show. I decided I was going to watch, totally random. I didn't know this fact about Aliens. I decided I was going to watch the one about aliens, just as in the mood to watch it. And then right in the middle of it, they announced the date of when it was going to debut, which was July 18th. And I was like, oh my God, that's tomorrow. I randomly picked this one, not knowing that the anniversary was the next day. So I thought that's kind of funny. That's 39 years ago this week. Clueless debuted 30 years ago this week. We have a Alicia Silverstone story coming up in a little bit here. Deaths, we have Alan Bergman, a songwriter who wrote The Way We Were and the theme to Good Times. We also have Sir Roger Norrington, a British composer, died at the age of 91. And that's it for this page. Moving right along. A live actions Assassin's Creed show has been announced by Netflix. Talked about that already. Oh, yeah, Mortal Kombat 2 is set to debut October 24th. I already talked about the trailer for that. Barry McFarlane sold the rights to the Fire Festival on eBay for $245,000, $245,340. So someone else now owns the Fire Festival. So hopefully they'll do a better job of it than that loser. Night Always Comes trailer with Vanessa Kirby, who'll be appearing in the Fantastic Four news Netflix film debuting August 15th. We got our first look at the trailer. Daredevil Season 2 has wrapped production, and The Punisher one-shot has begun production. Taika Waititi is set to direct a Judge Dredd film. He will not be writing the screenplay. For all the people who are like, oh, he's going to ruin it like he did Thor. And he really didn't ruin Thor. He made it more entertaining. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Got our second Tron Ares trailer, a little bit more about what the story is about. It's going to focus more on Jared Leto, and a lot of Tron fans are like, well, I'm not going to watch it now because I can't stand Jared Leto, so we'll see what happens with that. Disney originally was going to do a Persian princess movie, and it looked pretty good, some of the artwork they had for it already, but then they decided to scrap it for a Moana 2, which did okay, I guess. I don't remember how good it did. After the success of the live-action Barbie movie, Illumination, the company that brought you Sing, Despicable Me, and the Minions, is bringing you, and also Secret Life of Pets, is bringing you a Barbie animated film. So we'll see how that works out with the Illumination group like that. ABC has greenlit the Scrubs reboot. Talking about Alicia Silverstone. Alicia Silverstone is set to star in Acorn Channel's mystery series Irish Blood, set to debut August 11th. The first trailer for that came out. It's a bit more of a murder mystery sort of thing instead of a romantic comedy, so that's interesting. Invincible has been renewed for season 5. We got our first. No, that's a mess. Ashley Walters and Tracy Effecker have joined Remains, the M. Night Shyamalan movie. General Hospital actor Tristan Rogers, who played Robert Scorpio, has cancer. I brought that up because I used to watch General Hospital during the Robert Scorpio era, and the Holly, Robert and Holly stuff, which is always good and was more action-packed and was a lot of fun. And you put... who's that? The other actress in there. She was the opposite of Holly. Oh, I can't think of it right now. So the Harry Potter show started filming. Anton Lester has been cast as Alexander, and Amos Kitson has been cast as Dudley. Louise Beretting has been cast as Madame Hooch. Hopefully she'll stay around longer than the other one. And Rory Wilmot has been cast as Neville in the Harry Potter shows. We also got our first look at Nick Frost as Hagrid. And he looks like Hagrid, so there's really not much you can say about that. So that's all I got to say about that. There it is right there. I'll just X that out. This is kind of interesting. So we all know that Chris Nolan's next film is The Odyssey, an adaptation of The Odyssey. And the cast is stacked. You have Matt Damon, Anne Hathaway, Zendaya, Tom Holland, John Barenthal, Robert Pattinson. I forget the black actress name from Black Panther. She's in it as well. There's probably a few other people I'm missing right now, but those are the main cast right there. And it is going to be a huge film. I think it's going to be almost as big as Avatar, probably, just from the way things are going right about now. Though I do have a theory about Avatar I'll talk about in a little bit. But this huge cast, and then Christopher Nolan being well-loved, Academy Award-winning director, and we got our first look at the first trailer of it when you went to see Jurassic World Rebirth. And I think they had it in front of Superman also. They did. So you'll be seeing it probably in front of a lot of these other movies coming out this summer. And you can only see it there. It has not leaked online or had not been seen online. It was leaked online, but I have not seen it picked up by anybody. So we'll see what happens with that. Regardless, Nolan is obsessed with IMAX, which is fine. And he filmed the whole thing in IMAX. And he decided to do something different. So a year before the movie actually is set to debut, which is next year at this time, actually right around this date, actually, the Odyssey is going to be debuting literally about a year from now. Last week, Chris Nolan decided, and the company that's the production company for it, has decided we're going to do advanced ticket sales in true IMAX theaters. The IMAX theaters you get at your movie theaters are not true IMAX theaters. They're just bigger screens, and they upgrade the sound a little bit, but it's not an official IMAX theater. There are only 70 of them across our country. And that's what they were talking about. They were only going to open up pre-sales for these official IMAX theaters that are going to be showing the Odyssey. And it picked up $1.5 million in pre-sales already. And the movie doesn't come out for a freaking year. That's in 70 theaters, $1.5 million is really impressive, considering also that these IMAX theaters are not very big seating capacity. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I've never actually been in one, so I couldn't tell you. I just wouldn't assume it would be very big because they're usually these true IMAX ones are attached to museums and stuff like that, so they don't really have the room for all this stuff. But I could be wrong. But $1.5 million in pre-sales. And also, it's so crazy right now. People are scalping them online for $300 to $400 to go see it. So that's why I'm saying 95% of the seats have been sold already for the true IMAX theaters. That's really impressive as well. That's why I'm saying I think this movie is going to be massive. Just because 1.5 million and the movie doesn't even come out for a year. That's insane to have that going on. So it is really, really crazy. So that's why I'm thinking of that. Now, my recent theory, which obviously is connected to that, my recent theory is that Avatar 3 is coming out this December. We haven't seen anything about it yet, but the rumor is that the trailer will be attached to Fantastic Four. It has also been leaked to various websites, but nobody's been posting it because I have not seen anything. I've heard the story that it was leaked, and but I haven't seen it yet. But I will see it when I watch Fantastic Four. But it will be there. My theory is that the first Avatar hit during the height of the 3D mania, where everybody wanted 3D movies and they were making tons of money with 3D movies. Hell, the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movie made almost $1 billion also, due in part to the 3D-ness of it as well. And then Avatar hit over $1 billion and became one of the highest grossing films. It was the highest grossing film of all time before Endgame took it out. And then because Cameron can't be a sore loser, or as a sore loser, he re-released Avatar and pushed it back over as the number one film over Endgame, highest grossing film of all time, because of the re-release. They haven't re-released Endgame, so it made it on its own merits. And they're going to re-release Avatar 2 later this year in getting ready for Avatar 3. That's number 3 on the list of the top grossing movies of all time. And that got me thinking, is that, it was almost 11, 12 years in between, maybe even longer than 13, 14 years in between when the first one came out and the second one came out. And nobody was talking about Avatar like they were talking about like a Star Wars or anything like that. And so I wasn't thinking it was going to do all that well. It made billions of dollars again, third highest grossing movie of all time. Now, the third one, I don't think it's going to get to be that high because it's literally coming out about 2 years after number 2 came out. Instead of waiting another 14 some years, it's only coming out 2 years later. Now, the reason why I thought number 2 did as well was because it had been 14 years since the previous Avatar movie had come out. And people just want to see a Jim Cameron movie. So I think now that you saw it, and then only 2 years have passed since then, I don't think the numbers are going to be as high for the third one. I could be wrong, but that's just my speculation. We'll find out more in December, but that's just my prediction as well. And I think Doomsday is going to do really well as well for Marvel too. Don't know if it's going to be on par with Endgame, but it should be a pretty decent money as well. So we'll see what happens with that stuff. But we'll see what happens. But I think the Odyssey is going to do gangbusters at the movie. The only problem is that the week after the Odyssey comes out is when Spider-Man 4 comes out. So those are also, as I said, up there with Supergirl as being my top summer movies. I forgot that they were going to come out next year. So Superman 4 is coming out literally the week after Odyssey. So We'll see how the numbers go, but I just have a feeling it's gonna be huge. That's all. All right, now we're going to off of pop culture stuff and do some other weird stuff. Portugal's Joanina Library utilizes bats, lets bats come in during the night while it's closed so they can eat all the bugs that may be around that could damage all these books in the library. And it seems to be working out pretty good. We got our first shot of a solar system actually being formed. Never seen it before, but we have our first picture of how it was formed. That looks how the solar system being formed. It looks really, really cool. And a rare split-colored lobster was caught off the coast of Rhode Island this week as well. So super interesting stuff going on there. And also a school went into lockdown after someone claimed that a mountain lion was on the campus. Turned out it was just a fat orange cat. I'm not making this up, not an onion joke. It's an actual story that actually did happen. Felix Baumgartner, the crazy skydiver, he was the guy that jumped from like the stratosphere and skydived from the stratosphere down to Earth. He died in a paragliding accident. Anniversaries. Arachnophobia debuted 35 years ago this week. A killer, great horror comedy with a great cast and a great story. Eyes Wide Shut came out 26 years ago this week. Akira, the anime, came out 37 years ago this week and really blew up the anime scene here in the United States. Nolan's Inception came out 15 years ago this week. The Mask of Zorro, a fun remake of Zorro with Antonio Banderas, debuted 27 years ago this week. RoboCop debuted 38 years ago this week, as did Jaws 4, debuted 38 years ago this week. Eight-Legged Freaks joined its spider companion Arachnophobia, but it came out a little later than Arachnophobia. Eight-Legged Freaks came out 23 years ago this week. And this week also is the 70th anniversary of Disneyland opening. So congratulations. We are now into July 20th. It is now the 56th anniversary of the moon landing. So congratulations to you. I'll probably talk about it more next week probably. But congratulations to that. 56 years ago, we landed on the moon. There's still people that believe we didn't. Morons. Speaking of space, let me get something to drink here real quick. Speaking of space, the largest Mars rock found on Earth sold for $4.3 million at Sotheby's auction house. A mysterious cowboy hat pride flag wearing robot ran through parts of Los Angeles this week. It was kind of bizarre videotape of him doing that. It was kind of weird to see that. Ballad of a Small Player. We got our first look at that. Netflix film set to debut October 29th with Colin Farrell, Tilda Swinton, and Fallon Chen. The Realm of Satan is a documentary about the Satanists and see what their religion actually is about. We got a Alien Earth trailer. Alien Earth set to debut August 12th. Still looks kind of meh to me. I'm not going to see it because it's on Hulu, so I wouldn't be able to watch it anyway. Maya Hawke and Lewis Pullman are set to star in the surrealist rom-com Wishful Thinking. It's kind of interesting. Local news, the Baltimore Orioles are in the conversation for another All-Star game. Now that the ownership has been settled, they were in the running last year when the ownership was still sort of up in the air and in flux. But now that we do have a steady owner, Major League Baseball is looking at bringing the All-Star game back to Baltimore. Last time they had it was in 1993. So a good 30-some years ago, 32 years ago. Coming on Monday, the 21st, a Naruto-themed Burger King meal for kids is set to debut. Superhero donuts have arrived from Krispy Kreme. Conjuring Last Rites is set to debut September 5th. We got our first look at Sophie Turner in Trust, debuting August 22nd. Hopper's trailer surprisingly dropped this week. It's the new Pixar film set to debut March 6th, 2026. And they make a joke right out of it because it's basically taking the idea of Avatar about having a human entering the body of an animal instead and living amongst the animals to figure out what's going on and how they talk like that. That's what Hoppers is about. And they make a joke about it being like Avatar. So I think that's kind of funny. Hey, buddy. You gonna not whack me? Excuse me, bud. You can't block my work here. You want you to sit up there. Here, I'll move my phone, and you can sit up there. Okay, I'll move my phone over here. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires is set to get a TV show on HBO, so that'll be in the works right now. I'll probably see that sooner than later. Lanterns TV show has finished filming. Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell are going to team up in Tough Guys an action comedy called Tough Guys. The Last of Us Season 3 is set to debut in 2027. Ariana Grande and Josh Gad are set to voice characters in an animated film based on the Dr. Seuss, animated musical, I should say, based on the Dr. Seuss book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, directed by John M. Chu, who directed Wicked. So that's pretty cool for them. Pepper. I'm going to take a picture again. Shows you're helping me. Pepper. Ugh. You're a mess. Pepper, I need you to move. I got to do my work. Can you move, please? Pepper, I need you to move. You're going to attack me. I know. I can't do my show with you on my book. I love you, but I need you to move. Come on. I don't. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. I love you. Why don't you sit up here? But I need my book. Let's see. Good news also on the Harry Potter front. Good news, Voldemort has been cast. The bad news is they're not going to tell you who it is because they want to surprise you when they do the reveal. So they either got somebody really, really big or nobody. Sticking with the Harry Potter vein, Emma Watson, who was the original Harry Potter movies, has been banned from driving in the UK for 6 months due to speeding. Excessive, don't you think? Blood Axe TV show has added 6 more actors. I didn't want to look it up because I couldn't access who they were. Woman's that would be the last story to hear. Italian man. No, that's not good. Yeah, these are two. So an Italian man walked 450 kilometers to cool off after an argument with his wife. 450 kilometers. That's like a 3-day, almost 4-day trip. On foot, he walked to cool off from an argument he had with his wife. And speaking of other weird stories, a woman stopped to allow a chicken to cross the road. Yeah, I know it sounds like a setup for a joke, but it's a true story. Car behind her did not take too kindly to her stopping and waiting when she should be moving. So he goes around her, runs over the chicken, and keeps going. The woman is very pissed off. She follows him and is able to catch up with him and gets him to pull over and then hits him with bear spray, bear mace, excuse me. That's going to be hugely painful. So don't run over. If a woman's trying to help out an animal, let her help out the animal. Deaths, Connie Francis, Stupid Cupid, Pretty Little Baby singer. Connie Francis, everyone probably knows, I've heard of her. Brian Brahmin, a former Eagles, Texans linebacker, died of cancer at the age of 38. I think he played in a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Annette McCroskey, a talent agent, died at the age of 51. Ondun Groenwald, an Olympic medalist skier, died after being struck by lightning. Simon John Marioli, a golfer, also died after being struck by lightning. So that's crazy. Anniversaries, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 debuted 14 years ago this week. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim Burton's remake of Willy Wonka, debuted 20 years ago this week. Free Willy debuted 32 years ago this week. iRobot debuted 21 years ago this week. All right, moving right along. This is a cool story. And it fits with the way things are. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, God. Sorry, my leg muscle just tightened up on me. Fuck. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, the aforementioned Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan, will be reteaming for Waiting for Godot on Broadway this fall. So that they join classic pairs of actors who've worked together. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen did it as well, and stuff like that. So Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter, as I said, the aforementioned Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan will be doing Waiting for Godot on Broadway, which is really cool. John Malkovich, who's going to be playing the Red Ghost, a villain of the Fantastic Four and the Fantastic Four movie, has been cut due to time constraints and retelling and re-editing of the story to make it. You don't really need to have it in there because it's not really important to the story, apparently. Single Riders dating app is a dating app for adult Disney fans. So if you are a single or divorced or widowed Disney fan, adult Disney fan who is looking for someone who has a similar interest to you, now you do. Now you know you guys can go to Disney and you can have fun together. There you go. Walking Dead, Dead City gets a third season with a new showrunner, so we'll see how they do with that. Uno has now become an official gambling game in casinos, so you can actually go to any casino, Vegas, Baltimore, Washington, wherever you can gamble, and it'll be a table game, much like blackjack and poker, stuff like that. Uno is now a casino game. Millie Bobby Brown and Gabriel LaBelle are set to star in Just Picture It, a rom-com set for Netflix. The movie Superman has created an interest in dog adoption, up by 500%. Ella Balinska, and Rob Delaney are set to star in The Occupant. The trailer came out about that. It's a survival thriller. Cameron Diaz is set to play a comedic version of Michael Douglas's character in Falling Down in a new Netflix movie as well. The oldest wild lion in Zambia, who was kicked out of his pride by his sons, has been accepted back into his pride at the tail end of his life. Not the king, but he will be accepted in the pride, and he will die as being a member of the pride and be treated with all that like there. Taya Leone and Tim Daly are getting married. Did not know they were even dating or together, but that's interesting. So they are getting married. They actually played a married couple in a TV show a while back. Chimpanzees are putting grass and sticks up their asses as a fun new style or whatever. People aren't quite sure why they're doing that. Mekhi Phifer and Steve Hawley are set to join High Potential Season 2. The Map That Leads to You, we got our first poster look at that. Set debut on August 20th on Prime. Ron Perlman will be in Season 2 of Fallout. It's been verified. Richard Harmon joins the cast of Memory of a Killer with Patrick Dempsey and Michael Imperioli. Vidyut Jamasunt has joined the Street Fighter cast. Mystery of the Mothman movie with Jeffrey Combs and practical Mothman effects is in the works right now. And the Asylum Henry Thomas, Willa Holland thriller also is set to debut here soon a little bit. Deaths, Robin Kay and Thomas DeLucia, who were people who were shot to death in their LA home. They worked on American Idol, so hopefully they'll find the person that did that to them. Anniversaries: Die Hard debuted 37 years ago this week. True Lies debuted 31 years ago this week. Stranger Things debuted 9 years ago this week. SpongeBob SquarePants debuted 39 years ago this week. The Blair Witch Project debuted 26 years ago this week. The Last Starfighter debuted 41 years ago this week. Orca debuted 48 years ago this week. George of the Jungle debuted 28 years ago this week. Hocus Pocus debuted 32 years ago this week. Lake Placid debuted 26 years ago this week. We talked about Sydney Sweeney earlier in the show. The White Lotus Season 1 debuted 4 years ago this week with Sydney Sweeney and Alexandra Daddario. The Baltimore Stars USFL football team beat the Oakland, no, can't tell what the name of the team is, in the USFL championship game, the final game ever played by the USFL. That was 40 years ago this week. What's interesting about that was there's a whole book about how the con artist in charge, the trader in charge of the White House right now, was the one that ruined the USFL. He owned a team because none of the NFL wanted him to own a team in the actual NFL. So he had to bully his way into the USFL, which is a summer football league. And he owned a team and ended up trying to take over the running of everything. And he fucked it up entirely because USFL, their first season, did very, very well. So he thought they could take on the NFL. So he was trying to move it to go up against the NFL to prove that they were better. And that just didn't work out very well. And things just fell apart. There's a whole book about it that I need to read. It's in my pile somewhere. I need to read it eventually. But what's kind of interesting about that is the Baltimore Stars at that time, it was 40 years ago. So that was 85. The Baltimore Colts had just left in 83. So it had been 2 years without football. So when the Baltimore Stars was not one of the original USFL teams. A USFL team moved from the first season, from whatever town it was, to Baltimore for the second season. And then it collapsed. But it's an interesting side note is that Baltimore is the only city that can say that they have an NFL Super Bowl champ, a CFL Grey Cup champ, and a USFL champ as well. We're the only city in the world, in the United States, that can say all that. Because there was that one period of time for a couple of years where the Saskatchewan Riders or whatever tried to break into the United States, and they came to Baltimore and played a couple seasons in Baltimore, and we made it to the Grey Cup, which is their version of the Super Bowl, and we won it. And of course, the USFL thing, we did that as well, and then we won the Super Bowl as the Colts and as the Ravens twice. So, love my town. Finally, I want to talk about Ghostbusters. The female version debuted 9 years ago this week. I think this is a much maligned film. I think it's a lot better than people give it credit for. And I think it had a lot of potential, particularly with the end credit sequence where McKinnon's character hears the word Gozer and setting up the sequel to have Gozer from the original Ghostbusters fight them. What I find interesting about that is if you remember watching the original Ghostbusters with Murray Ackroyd, Ramis, and Ernie Hudson, when they're talking about Gozer, they were trying to force Gozer into another dimension. And that's kind of what they kind of did when they defeated her on top of the thing in New York in 1984. So wouldn't it be interesting if them forcing Gozer out of their universe led to Gozer being sent to this Ghostbusters universe, which is a different universe. And it was the fault of Murray Ackroyd, Ramis, and Hudson. That would have been a really cool sequel. But we're not going to see that because we end up seeing Gozer in Afterlife, and we took care of all that. But I still think it's a underrated film and needs to be seen a little bit more. Down to the final wire here. Still got a lot to go, though, but here we go. Smurf scented candle. What does a Smurf scented candle smell like? No idea. Sure as hell doesn't smell like the Grand Canyon Lodge on the North Rim burned down due to a wildfire this week. Nobody was hurt, luckily, but it was burned down. Tracy Fecker, who we talked about, is joining the M. Night Shyamalan movie, is leaving her role on The Pit, so she will not be in The Pit anymore, the new season of The Pit. Starfleet Academy, the new Star Trek show, has begun production. A pretty decent cast about there. A polar fox escaped from the zoo but got too tired and fell asleep not too far away from the zoo. They were able to catch him and put him back in. Japanese scientists, every week it seems like something new with them. Japanese scientists have just done restored vision using stem cells. So that's an interesting thing about that. A Mexican church built a statue of baby Jesus that looks like young Phil Collins. Zendaya will be playing Athena in the Odyssey. People are pretty much kind of expecting that. Lupita Nyong'o is the other actress. She's going to be playing Cersei. That I didn't mention. I talked about the Odyssey a while back. Anne Hathaway and Josh Hartnett's Verity has been moved back to the fall. I think I talked about that last week, but I wasn't sure. Robin Wright and Olivia Cook are set to star in The Girlfriend, a series on Prime set to debut September 10th. I talked about Artificial with Andrew Garfield and Cooper Koch. Yura Barizov from Anora is also joining the cast of that as well. Eva Longoria is set to direct Anita Del Monte Laughs Last, based on the novel. And the woman who wrote the novel is also writing the screenplay for the movie. So let's go on that. That'll be my last story then. I wish I should have waited for the other ones. No, that'll be the last one because that'll tag it at the end. Another bear was spotted coming out of a sewer in Colorado Springs. So that's interesting. San Diego Comic-Con is this upcoming week, and George Lucas will be there for the first time ever. So that's kind of an interesting thing to see that. And DC is kicking off a decade-long celebration leading to its 100th anniversary in 2035 in San Diego. So if you go to the DC booth at San Diego, if you're lucky enough to go to San Diego Comic-Con starting on Wednesday for preview night, you will be seeing it decked out in the old 1935 to like 1945 sort of beginning of the DC comic stuff with old school Daily Planet newspapers and old school Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, the Bob Kanes and the stuff like that, Bill Fingers, and the Schuster, Siegel and Schuster doing this stuff as well. So kind of interesting to see that. So their 100th anniversary is 2035. So here in 2025, they are starting their decades-long trip down the line. So every year it'll be another 10 years to cover the whole 10 years. They'll be doing something special for each decade over the next 10 years, leading to the 100th anniversary celebration in 2035, which is interesting. 10 years away, I'll be 62. So I'll still be alive for that, hopefully. Before we get to the last story, which isn't very interesting, but it ties up the episode pretty good. Anniversary, episode's death. Jim Clancy, a former pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, who I remember distinctly pitching against the Baltimore Orioles, and I remember him very much. He passed away this week. Bill Chamberlain, an NBA player, died this week as well. Anniversaries, the X-Men debuted 25 years ago this week. The Strain debuted 8 years ago this week. It was a show that started off good and then just went kaput. And this is also the 48th anniversary of the New York City blackout. Happened 48 years ago this week. It happened at a very strange time because the Son of Sam murders were still going on, and people were afraid that that was going to be an issue, and the race stuff was going on as well. And they kind of played with it a little bit and they do the right thing a little bit. So we'll see about that. And then I think Spike Lee ended up doing The Summer of Sam, which takes place during this blackout, so if I recall correctly. Finally, I think I talked about this last week. The Muppets Take Manhattan debuted 41 years ago this week. So to tie up my episode, tied up by Sydney Sweeney. I mean, what? The tie up the episode, because I talked about Sydney Sweeney at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to tie it up with Sydney Sweeney at the end of the episode. She is being eyed to play the next James Bond girl by new James Bond director Denis Villeneuve. I think it's a really brilliant idea. I think it's pretty cool. And that ties this show in a bow. If you missed the first part of the show, I talked about Sydney Sweeney a couple times, and this tied it up very well. So that is the end of this episode. So thank you for watching my three viewers who just popped up at the very end here. Unfortunately, I'm at the very end of my show, unfortunately, but thank you for popping in here for a few minutes. Next week, as I said, San Diego Comic-Con starts on Wednesday, so we'll talk about anything that gets revealed at that next week. I will also be seeing the Fantastic Four on Friday, as far as I know. Hopefully, it's scheduled to be that way, but if something comes up, obviously, I'll try to see it the weekend, but I am scheduled to see it on Friday. So I should have my review of that as well. And anything else that pops up during the week, any other dreams I may have, I will reveal to you, obviously, because that's what I do with my show. And this was a big one. I haven't done about an hour and a half for a while. And it is a Saturday night. Usually I do Sunday afternoon, but I'll be out with my father-in-law tomorrow during the time I would normally do this in the afternoon. Kind of wish I did do it in the afternoon, but I'm okay with right now. So thanks for watching. You can check the playback when I shut this down here and enjoy the show leading up to it. Find out what Sydney Sweeney had to do with anything. And hopefully I will see you guys in my dreams. Bye.